Okay, in this video, we're going to talk about how to start creating our Works Cited page using both book and web sources. Okay, so before I get into actually creating the citations, I want to make sure I have a place to put them when they're created. So I'm going to go into my English 9 folder that we created and my research paper folder where I'm keeping everything. And I'll already see my outline set up here. I want to also create now a new Google Doc to be my Works Cited page, at least for the time being until I add it into my paper later on. So I'm going to hit new Google Docs. And I want to immediately title this Works Cited Research Paper. Okay. From here, all I have to do, as far as formatting, is put my title, which is Works Cited. And I'm going to change that formatting to be Times New Roman font, size 12. And I want to double space this. I also want to center my title and then enter a line down and replace that cursor to the left. Okay, so that's all I need to do as far as formatting to begin my Works Cited page. But I'm going to have this pulled up now that it's created. I'm going to have this pulled up the whole time that I'm doing my research. So as I select documents to help me out with my research, to help me out with writing my paper, I'm going to log those citations in my Works Cited so I can refer back to those when I need to use them. I can also then put this at the end of my paper as my Works Cited page to accompany that to show my work, essentially. Okay, so I'm just going to leave this like this up here in my my extra tab here. So I'm going to start out with a book source. I'm going to use the example of, let's say I'm writing about Malala Yousafzai. She is the young woman who was shot by the Taliban when she stood up for her right to education. And so her book, she wrote a book about herself and about her experiences, and I'm going to say that I want to use that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Create Citations once I've opened up easybib.com. This is linked on Schoology, or you can just type in easybib.com to your browser. So I'm going to hit Create Citations. I'm using a physical copy book this time, so I'm going to make sure I click on book rather than website or a journal or more. I'm going to click book. And I'm going to type in the title. A lot of times these books have already been cited. If they're quality resources, they've already been cited by other people in their research. So some of the legwork might be done for you already, which is kind of nice. So I'm going to just type in I am Malala. I'm going to search. Okay, so the interesting thing about this book is there is a subtitle that says The Schoolgirl Who Stood Up to the Taliban. And actually, it shouldn't be the schoolgirl, it should be the girl who stood up. Oh my goodness. Look at all these wrong ones. Okay, I'm going to come back up here. There is a subtitle on here. And if I want to add that, I certainly can. So I'm going to find the proper information by using my book. You guys can't see it right now, but I've got my book in front of me. Probably hear the pages turning here. So none of these citations look entirely correct to me based on my edition that I have. So I'm actually going to create a manual citation, and this will actually be a more comprehensive process for you now. You can see the whole thing here. So my author is Malala Yousafzai. She wrote a book about herself. Okay, so first name Malala, last name Yousafzai. Okay, you'll notice that the essential information that you need to create a citation is all here and starred as you until you fill it out. Okay, it says add in any information that you have below. The starred boxes are strongly suggested. This is like the basic section of your information that you should be including. Okay, my source title again is I am Malala. I know that I don't have a volume or edition or series for this because it's not typically volumes are reserved for things like reference books like encyclopedias or dictionaries, things like that. So I'm going to skip back down here to the publisher. I see that my publisher is actually going to be here. If you're having issues or questions finding the name of the publisher, let me know and I can help you out with that. I also see that my book was published in 2013. That's why I wanted to create a manual citation, is I didn't see any other book that was a 2013 edition. And I want to make sure I'm being really specific because sometimes the page numbers are different from edition to edition, year to year, as far as when they were printed. Okay, and that looks to be all of the information I need to add here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit complete citation. Sometimes it makes you watch an ad, and it looks like it's advertising. No, this was not how this was supposed to go. I'm going to go ahead and finish playing this. Okay, so while that's playing, I'm going to talk a little bit. If I wanted to cite just a chapter out of this book, your citation is going to look a little bit different. So I can feel free to just cite a chapter or two out of a book if it's more specific to what you're talking about. So some of you guys might find book sources where your person is one of many that's discussed within the context of that book. And if that's the case, you're going to select a chapter or section rather than citing the whole book. So here is my citation. I can copy citation here, or I can hit this three-dot set and have it pull down a menu here where the first thing is going to be to copy citation. Great. So I've got the book cited. I'm going to go back to my Works Cited page that I have open in Google Docs, and I'm going to paste that there. The first thing that I notice is that there's an extra tab over that I don't want to be there. So I'm going to put my cursor in front of Malala's name as the author, and I'm going to just back that out so it is normal here. It looks like everything else, though, formatted the same. It's all Times New Roman, size 12, double spaced. It looks like it kept the title of the book in italics, which is great, and it has all the information that I need. We'll have to do a little bit with a hanging indent, which is what we call it, a little bit later, but right now I'm just going to separate my sources with an extra space between them. Okay. So now if I want to cite a web source that I find through one of the databases that we have access to through the eLibrary MN website, so I'm going to use Gale in context. It's my favorite of the ones for this project in particular. I'm going to use the Gale in context, and I'm going to take a look at the resources that they have about Malala. And there's a number of resources here, and these databases are going to be significantly easier to cite just because they have it built in as a feature. Because they so badly want you to cite your sources, they're going to give you the citation. Okay, so I'm going to look through, and it looks like this section in particular is going to be helpful for my understanding of what type of information goes over what. So maybe I want a biography, maybe I want a magazine article that might go into more depth about a different part of her life. Looks like there's only 2 biographies, so I might need to branch out beyond those things if I'm going to write about Malala. In my reference stuff, I want to stay away from things like plot summaries or theme, because I'm talking about Malala as a person. So these reference articles here might not be helpful to me. But something that says Malala Yousafzai, a normal yet powerful girl, that actually might sound like it's going to be helpful when I'm trying to prove that Malala's the most influential or the most important person. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this article and see if this is helpful. If this is helpful, if I decide that I like this, which I don't know if I will because this is actually an interview with her. Maybe it is because she can talk about herself in her own words again. If I find that this is going to be a helpful article, I'm going to go up to my toolbar here. In certain databases, this is going to look a little different. So sometimes it says cite. Sometimes it says, how do I cite my source? And you click on that. Sometimes it's a little box with a check mark in it that'll be cite. There's a number of different ways that you can go about doing this, depending on the database. In Gale in context, it's going to be this one that has these quotation marks, and it says cite. When I click on that, it'll pop this open for me. It defaults to the MLA 8th edition. and I'm going to copy this, select, copy. And I'm going to come back over here to my Works Cited page. And noticing here that there's no author, that means I have to put this at the top of my list. Normally with your Works Cited page, we want these to be alphabetical, but that's only if your entries have an author. This looks like it did not keep the formatting, so I'm going to want to go to Arial, Times New Roman, size 12. And you'll notice that there's like this gap here because we have to use this link and all of that. So we'll worry about this formatting and how that looks beyond this point later on. But for now, that's all I really need to do. You need a minimum of 3 sources that you're going to use in your Works Cited. I would recommend if you use something like from your databases through the eLibrary website, like this article from Gail, that you download it to your iPad to be able to keep track of it, or that you put it into your Google Drive through this button in order to keep it organized as well. You can also print it off if you like paper copies, or there's another download button here. You can email it to yourself if you want to keep everything in your school email. But those are all of the ways that you can keep track of these sources as you get them. Okay, so once I have this all put into my Works Cited, that saves as I go. I can get out of there, and everything should be updating here as I continue my research. Okay, that's what I've got for citing your sources and creating a Works Cited page. This is a super important, very crucial step of our research process and our writing process. So if you have any questions at all, please ask, because I'd rather you have some answers rather than winging it and not citing your sources properly, because that could result in a really poor grade on the essay. So make sure that you get this step right. If you have questions, please let me know. I would love to help you out with this stuff. I love doing this kind of stuff, but that's all I've got for you in this video. Have a good one.